Martin made America laugh every week, but behind the jokes were accidents, breakdowns, illnesses, and lives quietly falling apart. When the cameras stopped rolling, many of its stars were already spiraling downward. By 2026, the laughter feels distant, and the aftermath is far darker than anyone expected. Martin Lawrence as Martin Payne. Martin Lawrence was born April 16, 1965, in Frankfurt, West Germany. He was 27 years old when Martin premiered in 1992, starring as Martin Payne, the loud, impulsive radio host whose manic energy became the engine of the entire series. As Martin exploded into one of the most popular sitcoms of the 1990s, Lawrence's career rose at a punishing speed. Stand-up tours, television production, and major film roles stacked back-to-back, including Boomerang, 1992, and Bad Boys, 1995. In 1997, the show was shaken by a lawsuit filed by co-star Tisha Campbell, who accused Lawrence of sexual harassment, assault, and verbal abuse. Although the case was later settled privately, the damage was irreversible. Campbell left the series, production schedules were disrupted, and Lawrence's public image fractured almost overnight. The collapse accelerated near the end of the decade. In 1999, while filming Big Mama's House, Lawrence suffered severe heat exhaustion, collapsed, and fell into a coma after his body overheated beyond 107 degrees. The incident followed earlier hospitalizations linked to exhaustion and erratic behavior, signaling a deeper mental and physical breakdown caused by years of overwork. His performances became more restrained, and the fearless spontaneity that once fueled his comedy never fully returned, even as franchises like Bad Boys 2 tried to restore his momentum. As of 2026, Martin Lawrence is 61 years old. He remains active in film and comedy, choosing projects carefully and working at a slower, more controlled pace. To Tisha Campbell as Gina Waters. Born on October 13, 1968, Tisha Campbell was born in Oklahoma City. She was 24 years old when Martin premiered in 1992, cast as Gina Waters, the intelligent, ambitious girlfriend who grounded the show's chaos with emotional realism. By November 1996, during the show's final season, she abruptly exited the series, publicly citing intolerable working conditions. 2 months later, in January 1997, Campbell filed a lawsuit against co-star Martin Lawrence, accusing him of sexual harassment, physical assault, and verbal abuse, both on and off set. The case was settled privately, but the fallout was public and permanent. She continued working in projects such as My Wife and Kids, 2001, regaining visibility, but stability proved fragile. Her marriage to actor Dwayne Martin collapsed after years of strain, ending in a highly publicized divorce that exposed severe financial distress. Court filings revealed millions in debt, forcing Campbell to confront a humiliating reversal after decades in the industry. At the same time, she faced a quieter, more dangerous enemy, pulmonary sarcoidosis, a chronic inflammatory disease affecting her lungs. Campbell later confirmed the illness was under control, but acknowledged it altered her energy, health priorities, and relationship with work. By 2026, Tisha Campbell is 57 years old. She continues to act selectively, focusing on television, music, and advocacy while managing her health carefully. 3. Thomas Mikal Ford as Tommy Strawn. Thomas Mikal, born on September 5, 1964. Thomas Mikal Ford was born in Los Angeles, California. He was 27 years old when Martin premiered in 1992. Cast as Tommy Strawn, Martin Payne's impeccably dressed best friend, whose ambition, insecurity, and emotional loyalty made him the show's most human character. At the height of Martin's success, Ford's timing was sharp, his presence confident, and audiences connected to Tommy's quiet struggle to be taken seriously. While the series consumed most of his public identity, film opportunities remained limited, and post-Martin visibility never matched expectations. Roles in projects like Harlem Nights and Across the Tracks kept him working, but the leap from beloved sitcom star to leading man never materialized. As the years passed, health concerns began to surface. Ford spoke candidly about ongoing medical issues, including complications tied to weight fluctuations and physical strain, yet continued working through stand-up, stage appearances, and independent projects. In October 2016, Ford was hospitalized after sudden severe complications, a medical emergency that arrived without warning, leaving no time for recovery or farewell. Thomas Mikal Ford died on October 12, 2016, at a hospital in the Atlanta area from a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. He was 52 years old. 4. Carl Anthony Payne II as Cole Brown. Carl Anthony Payne II was born on May 24, 1969, in South Carolina. He was 23 years old when Martin premiered, cast as Cole Brown, the childlike, impulsive friend whose exaggerated foolishness became one of the show's most reliable sources of laughter. Long before Martin, Payne was already familiar to television audiences through The Cosby Show, where he appeared as Cockroach, a mischievous neighborhood kid whose antics hinted at his natural comedic instincts. As Martin soared in popularity, Cole Brown evolved into a fan favorite, a character so consistently ridiculous that audiences rarely questioned where the comedy came from. In later interviews, he openly acknowledged a long private battle with depression, explaining that much of his humor was not born from joy, but from pain carefully disguised as laughter. As the series ended and attention faded, Payne confronted the quiet aftermath familiar to many sitcom actors. Payne began speaking publicly about mental health, emphasizing that fans often confuse characters with real people, never seeing the anxiety, sadness, or isolation beneath the jokes. By 2026, Carl Anthony Payne II is 57 years old. He continues acting selectively while dedicating time to mental health awareness and community engagement. 5. Tichina Arnold as Pam James. Born June 28, 1969, Tichina Arnold was born in Queens, New York City, New York. She was 23 years old when Martin premiered, cast as Pam James, Gina's sharp-tongued best friend, whose confidence, sarcasm, and emotional honesty often stole scenes from the lead. As Martin surged, Arnold's career appeared unstoppable, yet the pace came with hidden damage. Constant filming, public scrutiny, and the pressure to remain the loud, funny one created mounting psychological strain. She later acknowledged periods of emotional exhaustion and anxiety that were masked by high-energy performances. While opportunities followed, including Little Shop of Horrors and How I Got Over, the transition beyond sitcom fame proved uneven, forcing her to juggle momentum with survival rather than growth. Personal life fractures deepened the toll. Arnold's long-term relationship with former NFL player Rico Hines unraveled publicly, culminating in a contentious divorce marked by emotional fallout and media scrutiny. The breakup exposed vulnerability behind her fearless persona, reinforcing a pattern familiar to many sitcom stars: strength on screen, instability off it. In 2026, Tichina Arnold is 56 years old. She remains active in television and music, choosing projects selectively while prioritizing mental well-being. 6. Garrett Morris as Stan Winters. Garrett Morris, born on February 1, 1937 in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was 55 years old when Martin aired in 1992, appearing as Stan Winters, Martin Payne's abrasive old-school boss, a role that carried extra weight given Morris's own legendary past in television comedy. Long before Martin, Morris had already lived several lifetimes. As an original cast member of Saturday Night Live in the 1970s, he broke barriers as one of the first black performers on the show, enduring racism, limited screen time, and relentless pressure to prove himself. The deepest rupture came in 1994, when Morris was shot multiple times during a robbery in Los Angeles. He survived, but the injuries permanently altered his health and mobility, forcing him to relearn how to walk and slowing his career just as opportunities were narrowing with age. By the time he appeared on Martin, guest roles in series like Different Strokes and The Jeffersons filled the years between recovery and relevance. yet none restored the momentum stolen by violence and systemic neglect. His sharp delivery as Stan Winters carried an edge that felt lived in, the authority of a man who had already lost too much to perform lightly. By 2026, Garrett Morris is 89 years old. Largely retired, he is remembered as a pioneer who endured accidents, racism, and near-fatal violence to leave a lasting imprint on American comedy. 7. Chris Rock as Valentino Watson. Born on February 7, 1965, Chris Rock was born in Andrews, South Carolina. He was 27 years old when Martin aired in 1992, appearing as Valentino Watson, a minor but memorable character during the early phase of his ascent. Stand-up success brought him to Saturday Night Live, but mainstream respect lagged behind his talent. As his fame expanded through comedy specials and films like CB4, 1993, personal turmoil followed quietly. In 2012, Rock settled a lawsuit involving allegations of sexual assault. He was never criminally charged and publicly denied that the alleged rape occurred, yet the settlement lingered as a shadow. In September 2020, Rock revealed that he had been diagnosed with nonverbal learning disorder, a neurological condition that affects the ability to interpret facial expressions, tone, and social cues. The disclosure reframed decades of his life, strained relationships, misread rooms, emotional disconnects, not as personality flaws, but as symptoms of an undiagnosed condition. Now, in 2026, Chris Rock is 61 years old. Still one of the most influential comedians alive, he continues performing, writing, and directing while openly discussing therapy and mental health. 8. Charlie Murphy as Bro Fo Real. Charlie Murphy was born on July 12, 1959. Charlie Murphy was born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up in the long shadow of his younger brother, Eddie Murphy. He was 33 years old when Martin aired in 1992, appearing as Bro Fo Real, a brief but memorable presence that reflected his raw, street-hardened comedic edge. For much of the 1990s, Murphy lived on the margins of fame. While Eddie became a global superstar, Charlie drifted through minor acting roles and behind-the-scenes work, carrying both loyalty and quiet frustration. His early life had already been marked by instability, time in foster care, service in the U.S. Navy. Appearances in films like Harlem Nights, 1989, and small television roles kept him visible, but never validated. That recognition finally came in the mid-2000s when Murphy's brutally honest storytelling detonated on Chappelle's show. For the first time, Charlie Murphy was no longer Eddie's brother, but a voice forged by decades of being overlooked. His health began to fail. Murphy was diagnosed with leukemia, a battle he kept largely private while continuing to work sporadically, even as treatments weakened him and momentum slipped away once more. Charlie Murphy died on April 12, 2017, in New York City, from complications related to leukemia. He was 57 years old. 9. Lynn Whitfield as Ellen. Born on February 15, 1953, Lynn Whitfield was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She was 39 years old when Martin aired, appearing as Ellen, a poised, intelligent woman whose brief presence contrasted sharply with the show's chaos. Whitfield's career, however, was never built on comedy alone. In the 1980s and early 1990s, she carved a reputation through dramatic roles that demanded control and emotional precision, culminating in her Emmy-winning performance as Josephine Baker in The Josephine Baker Story, 1991. That success should have opened doors permanently. Instead, Hollywood's pattern repeated. Black actresses over 40 were praised, then quietly sidelined. Roles became selective rather than abundant, and momentum thinned just as her craft reached full maturity. Whitfield has spoken about periods of isolation and emotional strain as professional opportunities narrowed without explanation. High-profile relationships failed under pressure, reinforcing a recurring wound, visibility without security. Films like A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, 1996, kept her name alive, but the industry increasingly treated her as prestige when needed, not permanence. The absence of scandal did not protect her from erasure. It simply made the decline quieter. By 2026, Lynn Whitfield is 73 years old. She continues to act selectively, often portraying powerful matriarchs in television dramas, respected but no longer centered. Tracy Morgan as Hustle Man. Tracy Morgan, born on November 10, 1968, in the Bronx, New York City. He was 24 years old when Martin premiered in 1992, appearing as Hustle Man, the hyperactive, streetwise hustler whose chaotic energy felt funny precisely because it seemed too real to be invented. His early stand-up drew directly from lived hardship, and Hustle Man became an extension of that voice, exaggerated, desperate, always chasing the next angle. Success followed with Saturday Night Live in the mid-1990s, but stability did not. In 2010, Morgan was diagnosed with diabetes, a condition he later admitted he had ignored for years while continuing a punishing work schedule. In June 2014, a Walmart truck crashed into Morgan's limousine on the New Jersey Turnpike, killing his close friend and leaving Morgan in a coma with traumatic brain injury, broken bones, and permanent physical damage. Morgan had to relearn how to walk, speak, and perform, confronting depression and survivor's guilt alongside physical pain. Comedy, once effortless, became something he had to rebuild piece by piece. Films like 30 Rock and later stand-up specials documented not triumph, but fragility. A man laughing again while fully aware that luck, not control, kept him alive. The accident reframed his entire career, transforming Hustle Man's manic humor into a haunting preview of a life constantly flirting with disaster. By 2026, Tracy Morgan is 57 years old. He continues acting and performing stand-up, openly discussing disability, faith, and gratitude for survival. Martin was never just a comedy. It was a moment in time. But time was ruthless to the people who carried it, leaving behind scars, silence, and stories rarely told. Stay with us as we keep revisiting the faces you remember and the lives you never truly knew.